Okay, my name is Nathalie Niddam. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I'm a biohacking person, a human potential and epigenetic coach. I host the Biohacking Superhuman Performance podcast, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm what I would call a citizen scientist. So
I love that.
that's who I am.
Okay. So Nathalie, can you tell us a story about what brought you to this specific career path?
Wow. Yeah, sure. I mean, I've always been interested in science. I studied physiology when I was in what you guys would call college. Where I come from, we call university. And it took me a long time to figure that out. Everybody's talking about college. I'm like, what's the college thing? It's university. Anyway, so I studied physiology in university, and for reasons possibly related to some of the reasons that got me into this in the first place, I ended up in sales, and I ended up in magazine and advertising world. I ended up organizing special events, doing all kinds of stuff. But I never really lost that love of learning about science, and I've always been fascinated with the human body. I've always believed the human body can really heal itself. So I was a fitness instructor pretty much my whole life. And then at some point in my 40s, I decided that it was time to reinvent myself. And, I dealt with health issues, well, actually that's not true. I mean, I dealt with a variety of health issues my whole life. You would probably say that I was mostly healthy, but a lot of this underlying stuff that we talk about in the health space, like candida, brain fog, that kind of stuff. When I got pregnant with my son, I got preeclampsia, so we had a very crazy birth experience. And also looking at my family, seeing some of these chronic degenerative diseases starting to pop up, like things like arthritis or Alzheimer's or type 2 diabetes, that kind of stuff, and thinking, God, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to offset this. So I think all of those things are what ultimately moved me towards this place where I woke up one day and I'd always been reading books and educating myself about health, and just decided, all right, time to start over. And I just went back to school, studied holistic nutrition, and that's what set me on this path.
Great. So what are 3 things you wish someone would have told you when you first started your career?
This career?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. In some ways, I think a lot of people told me what I needed to hear, but I wasn't ready to hear it.
Wow.
Right? So a lot of people will tell you, and if you're getting into this career, one of the things you need to explore with yourself and learn about yourself is who do you want to help, right? What's the problem you want to help people to solve? Like, what's that thing and what is it that you love to do? And bringing those 2 things together are the things that will lead you to a career in this space that you love, that feeds you, and the success follows, right? So the success, and I think this is true of almost any career, when you really resonate with what you're doing, when it feeds you in many different ways, no matter how hard it gets, no matter, what the crappy part, because, there's things we don't want to do in everything that we do, all of that goes away if you really resonate and love what you do.
So none of us are able to achieve success without help along the way. Is there a particular person who helped you to where you are today?
Honestly, there are too many to name. I think that, first of all, my husband's been a massive support. I think I'm very fortunate. Those of us who come to this later in life, we're very fortunate that we have a support system that people who come to it much younger, who are just starting out, it's much harder for them because it takes time to hit your stride and to become successful. I've had mentors along the way, that people in the industry, people out of the industry. Right now, I'm connected to a group of women that are amazing, but there's also, I feel like in this space, in this biohacking and health optimization space, the community is spectacular. And I almost can't name names because I would be leaving people out. But there's a young woman who, frankly, she could be my daughter. I forget. But her name is Dasha Maximov, and she's my partner in the women's retreats that we started running this year. And she's incredible, But then there's women like Zora Benamu, who runs the Hack My Age podcast. There's Sandy Cruz, Sandy Kaufman. Like, these are just some of the people that are here. People like the people that own Young Goose, that they start off as being a podcast interview subject. They turn out to be your friends and your greatest supporters. We cheer each other on. So this is an incredible space where there is so much support for each other. And it's not just women, right? There's Freddie Kimmel over at Amp Coil and his partner Kristen Wietzel. Like there's so many different people. I keep thinking of people, oh, I got to mention this one and that one. So, you know, I just think in this particular space, it's the mentors and the friendships that we make.
Yeah. How has wellness played a big role in your life?
It's been central, right? I mean, ultimately, it's something that's always been very important to me. I've always, you know, my mom was talking about wellness long before anybody else, right? And not necessarily in the terms or the language that we use now, but she was always seeking going beyond conventional medicine, right? She was seeing this woman from, I don't remember where she was from, but she was doing these mud pack things and these crazy massages and reflexology. Like when my brother had a crazy fever, they wanted to take his tonsils out, she grabbed him and she ran him over to this woman and she did reflexology on his feet. She stimulated his immune system to rise up and fight off this infection, and my brother still has his tonsils to this day, you know? So I think that it's always been a part of my life, and it's part of what led me to study physiology, and then I just never lost it.
What innovations are you most excited about in the health and wellness space?
Oh God, you know, it's funny, I was just talking about this with someone today. It is such an exciting time to be in this field, right? There is so many, we're kind of on the cusp of being able to really meaningfully impact longevity and health span. So, I mean, I'm particularly fascinated with the topic that I presented on today, which are bioregulator peptides, and I think that, and they're not the most technological innovation, right? But we have things like PMF machines, like bioresonance machines, things like the Amp Coil. Even when it comes to beauty products, like you look at what Young Goose is doing with resveratrol and NAD, or Therasage is doing with their saunas and the infrared and the ozone. Like it's almost like there's a coming together of so many different disciplines, both old and new, that are just coming together. Or Victor with the deuterium depleted water. Like this stuff's been around since the beginning of time, and we're only just learning about it, and we're only now just becoming available. It's becoming available to us to leverage for our own health. So I don't know that I can pinpoint any one thing. I think that what it is it's the time that we're in right now and the opportunities that are before us.
So as you know, COVID-19 has changed the world as we know it. What do you suppose health and wellness companies should be doing to adjust?
I think they just need to redouble their message. I think that it's about communicating with people how important it is and how much power they have over their own health, right? I think that as a society, we've abdicated the power of our health. We hand it off because it's so much easier, because it's so much responsibility to own your health. But at the end of the day, we have to take it back. We have to know that, and in the face of this pandemic, it's been about what can you do to take charge of your own health and to protect yourself. Because, you know, if there's one thing that we know, we can't rely on other people to protect us. We can't rely on our governments. We can't rely on the public at large. It's not really their responsibility to keep us healthy. So what can we do to keep ourselves healthy so that we are resilient? And I think COVID-19, I think what health companies can do is just both make this message available and also create any offering that you can that makes it available to the most number of people. One of the issues we have is a lot of these technologies are expensive. A lot of the supplements are expensive, and we need to make them available to the people who need them the most. And so, honestly, all of us who are using the technology and the supplements, excuse me, if there's one thing we know, is if we're not sleeping properly, if we're not hydrating, if we're not managing our stress, if we're not eating the right foods, if we're not saying no to that second, third, fourth bottle of wine, or glass of wine, you know, I have people in my social circle who think I'm completely crazy. But you know, people who, in the face of sickness, continue with their crappy habits. They continue to eat bad foods. They continue to drink too much wine, and then bemoan the fact that, you know, the mask mandate's been lifted. And I think that at some level, where we are now with this health crisis is it's now been brought back to us. We make our choices, right? If we feel compromised, if we feel nervous, we are fully empowered to take whatever measures we need to keep ourselves healthy. And those who are less nervous, who are really taking care of themselves, are able to go out into the world in a different way. But to go back to your question, I think it's all of our responsibility to get the message out to people in a way that they can understand it, in a way that they can afford to apply it, so that they too can take part in this. Because it can't just be left to the people who can afford the stuff.
So as a board-certified wellness coach who caters to the cancer survivor community,
Yeah.
I find the theme of second chances a great motivator.
Yeah.
What keeps your spirit still firing?
I think it's curiosity.
Huh?
You know, I think what keeps me going, it's just like there's always something new around the corner. You know? Like there's always, and like I said before, like we're at such an exciting time, and sometimes it's something completely new that nobody ever heard of before, but sometimes it's something really old, something that's been around. You know, what's old is new. Like I think that Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, these are people who've been doing this for 5,000 years. Like to lean into the teachings that they have for us, to apply them in what we're doing today, and so much of their wisdom is rooted in taking care of the spirit, taking care of the body, getting out into nature, like all of these things. So for me, it's just this ability to always be discovering something new.
So you're a wellness insider. How would you describe the perfect wellness experience?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You are a wellness insider, so how would you describe the perfect wellness experience?
In what way?
Generally, mind, body.
Wellness experience.
I got you there.
Well, you got me because I don't fully understand the question. I'm not
Okay.
Perfect wellness experience in terms of what?
How would you like to feel on a daily basis? How
Oh my
one
God,
should feel?
I want to feel charged up, right? I want to feel vibrant and alive and joyful and grateful, right? I think that for us to be well in every way, shape, and form, it's really about how we feel in our own skin. And so to have that centeredness and groundedness, to be able to feel grateful for what we have, to be open to new experiences, to be able to have the gift of connection with other people, I think that's where it all begins.
How do you use your success to bring goodness to the world?
Well, I mean, for me, I think it's my podcast. I think that the podcast is my way of sharing as much information as I can with as many people as possible. And I do my best to, you know, not just have, I mean, of course, I love the new tech. I love the new supplements. I always love the new stuff. But I really look for the physicians that are doing the great work out there because I want to highlight them. I want to share their wisdom, both to inspire people who could be their patients to say that there is a solution to what you're going through, but also to inspire other physicians who may not be yet on this path of a different track of medicine that seeks to be more curious and more open to new things, and inspire those physicians because, you know, we don't have enough physicians yet who are really, you know, who have embraced all of this thinking. We still have a lot of physicians who are still very caught up in the machine that they were brought up in, and not that there's no value to it. I mean, it's a spectacular foundation, but at some level there's so much beyond that where they could be helping so many more people in a more meaningful way. So
how can we find out more about you online and your work?
So you can find me through my website, which is natniddam.com. There's the Biohacking Superhuman Performance podcast.